Hey everyone, I'm the storyteller, and I'm here to guide you into a night of eerie tales and deep sleep. I know you use this video to unwind, so before you drift off, tap that like button and subscribe for more chilling stories. Also, drop a comment, where are you from, and what time are you watching? Now, get cozy, relax, and let the stories take over.
The forest that calls your name. The first time Rowan heard the whisper, it was deep in the dead of night. A soundless hour. A moment when even the wind had stilled, the earth held its breath, and the world lay in perfect, motionless silence. But then, the voice. Soft, distant, threading through the stillness like a drop of ink in water, curling at the edges of sleep. Rowan. She stirred, half lost in the haze of dreams, her mind sinking between wakefulness and the quiet pull of something she didn't understand. She should have been afraid, but the voice. It was not cruel, not demanding, not urgent. It was simply there, like the rustling of leaves, the murmuring of the tide, the sound of something ancient pressing against the edges of the world. And then, it was gone. A ripple in the dark, a thread of sound dissolving into nothing. Rowan lay there for a long moment, her breath slow, steady, listening. But there was nothing. Only sleep waiting for her again, wrapping her in its soft, patient embrace. So she closed her eyes and drifted back into the quiet. But the next night, the voice returned. This time, it was closer. Rowan. A whisper. A breath. Not pleading. Not insistent. Just calling. She opened her eyes, staring into the dark, the quiet hum of the forest beyond her window stretching wide and endless beneath the pale silver glow of the moon. The trees stood still. The wind did not stir. And yet, something in her knew. The forest had spoken, and it was waiting for her. Rowan sat up, heart beating slow and steady, her body moving before her mind could catch up. Bare feet against the cool wooden floor, the hush of night pressing against her skin. The air held the scent of pine, of damp earth, of something ancient that had always been here. Waiting. She stepped forward. The window stood open. Had she left it that way? She couldn't remember. But the air was inviting. Soft. Cool. Pulling her forward like a tide. The whisper came again. Rowan. This time, she did not hesitate. She stepped through. And the forest took her in. The night was impossibly still. No wind. No movement. The trees loomed high, their branches stretched wide, their roots curling deep into the earth as if they had always been here. Always watching. Rowan walked barefoot across the moss, the ground soft beneath her touch, the air thick with the scent of something sweet, something heady, something old. The voice did not come again, but it no longer needed to. She knew where to go. She always had. Deeper, past the familiar paths, beyond the trees she had always known, into the heart of something unseen, something that had waited for her to hear it, to answer it. And she had. She had come. The world did not fight her. The darkness did not press against her. There was no fear. Only the quiet sound of her breath. Only the endless hush of the forest calling her home. And in the distance, the faintest glow. Soft, pale, golden, like a door left ajar, spilling light into the waiting dark. She stepped toward it. Her pulse slowed. Her thoughts softened. The world around her blurred at the edges. And as she stepped through the glow, into the warmth, into the hush, she let go. Let the forest take her. Let the quiet carry her. Let the night fold over her in perfect, gentle stillness. And then, there was only peace, only sleep, only home. Rowan stepped through the golden glow, and the world shifted. The forest was still there, but it was not the same. The trees stretched impossibly high, their branches twisting into the sky like silent watchers, their bark shimmering faintly in the dim, golden light. The air was thick with the scent of rain, though the sky was clear. And ahead of her, a path, narrow, winding, leading deeper into the heart of whatever this place had become. She did not question it. She did not turn back. The voice had led her here, and somehow she knew she was meant to follow. So she walked, bare feet on soft moss, the hush of unseen things breathing just beyond the trees. Shapes flickering in the corner of her vision, shadows that did not belong, movements that melted away before she could name them. But none of it felt wrong. None of it felt dangerous. It simply was. Rowan walked deeper, the golden light shifting, pulsing, as if the air itself was alive, watching, waiting. The voice did not speak again, but it no longer needed to. She was exactly where it wanted her to be. She was exactly where she wanted to be. And then, the trees parted, and she saw it. A lake. Still, dark, endless, stretching beyond what her eyes could follow. Its surface smooth as glass, reflecting the golden light like a mirror caught between two worlds. A hush settled over her, the kind of silence that was not empty, but full, alive. She stepped forward, the water pulling at her, the scent of rain thick in her lungs, the whisper of something unseen curling at the edges of her mind. This was the place. This was where she was meant to be. Rowan knelt at the water's edge, reaching out, her fingers skimming the surface. And the reflection changed. It was no longer hers. It was something else. Something that had been waiting. Something that had always known her name. And as she leaned closer, as the reflection opened its eyes, the golden light pulsed. The forest breathed, and the world pulled her in. Rowan did not scream. She did not pull back. She only watched. Watched as the reflection, her reflection, opened its eyes in the water. But they were not her eyes. They were darker, deeper. They held no whites, only swirling shadows, endless and quiet and patient. And they were looking at her. The air thickened. The trees leaned in. The golden light flickered, as if the world itself had taken a breath. Waiting, watching. Rowan's fingers still skimmed the water, the cold biting at her skin, sending a slow shiver up her arm. The reflection did not blink, did not ripple, did not move until she did. A test. A mirror. Something that would only act when she gave it permission to. She exhaled, and then she spoke. "Who are you?" Her voice was soft, steady, but in this place, it was everything. A single sound breaking the hush, sending a ripple through the world. The reflection's lips parted. The lake shuddered, and then it answered, "I am the part of you that never left." Rowan's breath caught. The reflection shifted. The shadows in its eyes swirled, and suddenly, she saw herself. Memories flooded the surface of the lake, flickering like lanterns in the dark. The nights she had dreamed of something more. The moments she had felt a pull toward places she could not name. The quiet longing that had lived in her since childhood, always whispering, always waiting, always calling. And then she knew. She had been here before. Maybe not in body, maybe not with memory, but something in her had always belonged to this place. "Why did you call me back?" she whispered. The reflection tilted its head. And then, "Because you are ready." Rowan's heart slowed. The trees rustled without wind. The golden light deepened, sinking into her skin. Ready? For what? She should have been afraid. But she wasn't. Because deep down, she already knew. Rowan took a breath. And then, without hesitation, she stepped into the water. Rowan stepped forward, and the water did not resist her. It did not push against her skin. It did not send shivers through her bones. It only welcomed her. A still surface parting in perfect silence, curling around her legs, rising to her waist, her chest, her throat, until the golden world above faded from sight. And there was only the deep, only the hush, only the endless, waiting dark. But she did not sink. She did not drown. She only drifted, suspended in weightless stillness, the water wrapping around her like the hush of a dream, like the pause between heartbeats, like the quiet before a name is spoken. And then, the reflection opened its mouth. Rowan felt the shift before she saw it. A ripple, a pull, a soundless call that rang through her bones, through her mind, through the part of her that had always belonged to this place. And when she opened her eyes, she was no longer in the lake. She was somewhere else. The world stretched before her in silver mist, rolling hills bathed in soft, pale light, a sky so vast it seemed to hold the weight of time itself. But there was no sun, no moon, no stars, only glow. A quiet luminescence woven through the trees, the grass, the still surface of a distant river. And ahead of her, a figure, not a shadow, not a stranger, but her. The reflection stood waiting, its dark, endless eyes calm, knowing. Rowan took a breath, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Where are we?" The reflection smiled. "We are home. Home." The words settled in her bones like something she had always known but never spoken aloud. And deep inside her, a door she had long forgotten unlocked. A pulse of memory, not from her life, but from something older, something before her name had been Rowan, before she had walked in the waking world, before she had been separated from this place. And she understood. She had not come to the forest. She had come back to it. And now, it was time to remember who she had been before she left. The reflection stood before her, waiting. Its dark, endless eyes did not blink, did not waver, did not falter. Neither did Rowan. She was no longer afraid. She was no longer confused. She only wanted to know the truth. "Who was I?" she asked, her voice steady, quiet, carried by the weightless hush of this place. The reflection tilted its head, and then it stepped forward. The silver mist curled around its feet as it moved closer, as the space between them shrank, as Rowan saw herself more clearly than she ever had before. And then it reached out, a single hand, palm up, waiting, an offering, a choice. Rowan hesitated for only a moment. Then, slowly, she lifted her own hand and placed it against the reflections. The moment their fingers met, the world shattered, not into chaos, not into pain, but into memory. 1,000 moments unfolding all at once, pouring through her mind, through her skin, through her soul, until she could not breathe, could not think, could only remember. And she did. She remembered the first time she stood in this place. She remembered the first time she answered the forest call. She remembered the name she had once spoken before she became Rowan. "Say it," the reflection whispered. And she did. A name that was not of the waking world. A name that did not belong to time. A name that had lived in her bones long before she was ever born. She spoke it, and the world around her shifted. The hills pulsed with golden light. The sky stretched wide, endless. And the reflection, no longer a shadow, no longer something separate, no longer something lost. It became her. It sank into her skin, into her breath, into the spaces between her ribs. And Rowan was whole again. She gasped, felt the weight of her name settle into her chest like a heartbeat, felt the warmth of the forest cradle her like a mother's hands. And when she opened her eyes, she was standing at the edge of the lake once more, bare feet on soft moss, the trees still, the water quiet. But she was different now, not lost, not searching, not longing for something unnamed. She knew who she was. She always had, and the forest had simply been waiting for her to remember. A deep breath, a slow exhale, and for the first time in her life, Rowan turned from the lake and walked away, not because she was leaving, but because she was finally home. Rowan stepped forward, her breath steady, her mind quiet. She had found herself. She had remembered. But as she walked away from the lake, through the whispering trees and the golden-lit mist, a feeling settled deep in her chest. A knowing. The journey was not over. It had only just begun. For if she had been here before, if she had always belonged to this place, then what had taken her away in the first place? The thought pressed against her ribs like a forgotten whisper, curling at the edges of her mind, lingering in the hush between heartbeats. And as she walked deeper into the trees, through the quiet hush of the forest that had waited so long for her return, she heard the whisper again, not the one that had called her here, not the voice that had led her to the water, but another, one she did not recognize, soft, distant, and not calling her name, but warning her, "You are not alone." The trees rustled, the air thickened, the golden glow flickered, and for the first time since stepping into this world, Rowan felt something else was here, something that had been waiting just as long, something that had not forgotten her, something that did not want her to remember. A slow, chilling breath pressed against the back of her neck, and in the space between one step and the next, the forest went silent. Rowan did not turn around. She didn't have to. She could feel it, standing just behind her, close enough that she should have heard it move. But there had been no sound, no footsteps, no rustling of branches, just the hush, just the thick, heavy stillness of the forest holding its breath. And the thing that had been waiting too long. A slow pulse of fear pushed against her ribs, but she swallowed it down. She was not the girl who had first stepped into this place. She was not lost. She was not searching. She knew who she was now, and whatever had been waiting in the dark, it knew too. You remember. The voice was not like the first whisper that had led her here. It was lower, older, a sound that did not belong to lungs or lips, but to something else. Rowan closed her hands into fists. She turned, and there was nothing. Only trees. Only golden mist curling through the trunks. Only silence. But the feeling remained. Heavy, unshakable, like something had just moved out of sight, or had never needed to be seen in the first place. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice steady. A pause. And then, from everywhere at once, "You know me." The breath in her lungs stilled. Because she did. She did not know how. She did not know why. But deep in her bones, she recognized it. The way you recognize a shadow in a dream. The way you recognize something from another life. Something she had forgotten. Or something she had been made to forget. The golden glow around her flickered. The hush of the forest deepened. And the thing that had waited, the thing that had always known her, stepped closer. She could not see it. She could not hear it. But she felt it, moving toward her. A presence pressing against the edges of the world, slipping between the spaces where the light could not reach. And this time, it did not stop behind her. This time, it did not wait. A slow, invisible touch brushed the inside of her wrist. Cold, soft, familiar. A breath against her ear, curling like mist, sinking into her skin. And then, "You left me." Rowan's pulse stilled. Not in fear, not in panic, but in recognition. Because suddenly, she remembered. Not everything. Not yet. But enough. Enough to know that this thing, this presence, this whisper in the hush of the golden forest, it was not a stranger. It had never been. And it was not here to harm her. It was here to bring her back. The trees shifted. The air thickened. The world watched. And Rowan, for the first time since stepping into this place, took a step toward it. Rowan stepped forward. And the thing, the presence, did not retreat. It did not shift back into the shadows. It did not vanish into the hush of the golden-lit forest. It let her come closer. The space between them was thin, fragile, charged with something she could not name. A weight, a pull. Something deep in her bones whispered that she should be afraid. But she wasn't. Not because the thing was harmless, but because it was waiting for her to understand. "I left you," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. The forest held its hush. The golden mist curled, thickening, as if listening. And the presence, it exhaled, a soundless thing, pressing against her skin like a memory resurfacing, like a hand reaching through time, like a whisper slipping beneath her ribs. Yes. Rowan's pulse slowed. Not in fear, not in panic, but in realization. Because as soon as she heard that word, the world around her shifted. Not in sight, not in sound, but in knowing. A door deep inside her creaked open, and she remembered just enough. The first time she had come to this forest. The first time she had stepped through the hush and the mist and the golden glow. Not as a stranger, not as a visitor, but as someone who belonged here. And she had not been alone. She had never been alone. "Who were you to me?" she asked, her voice steady now, stronger. The presence stilled, as if the question had changed something, as if it had been waiting for her to ask. And then, it reached for her, a touch she could not see, but felt. Fingertips against her wrist, slow, deliberate. And in that single touch, a rush of memories slammed into her. Not just glimpses, not just fragments, but feeling. The warmth of hands laced with hers, the weight of a head resting against her shoulder, the sound of laughter in a place that had no time, the hush of whispered words spoken in the dark before she had left, before she had forgotten. "Don't go." A plea, a last request, a voice from the past, aching, breaking. And she had left anyway. The truth hit her like a wave. She had not just been here before. She had loved here before. And the presence, the thing that had waited in the dark, in the hush, in the quiet of a forest that never forgot, was not a stranger. It was the one she left behind. A shiver ran down her spine. Not of fear, but of something deeper. "I remember you," she whispered. And the presence sighed. A soundless thing, full of relief, full of longing, full of something Rowan had no name for. And then, for the first time, it stepped into the light. The golden mist curled. The hush of the forest deepened. And the presence, the thing that had waited in the shadows, in the stillness, in the space where memories had been buried, stepped into the light. Rowan did not move, did not breathe. She only watched. The mist shifted, parting like silk. A figure emerged. Not a shadow, not a wraith, but someone, tall, lithe, draped in soft, flowing dark. Their skin was the color of dusk, kissed with something not quite human. Their eyes, she knew those eyes, deep, endless, the color of midnight where no moon dared to shine. And when they looked at her, it was not like looking at a stranger. It was like looking at a past she had turned away from, a life she had abandoned, a love she had once whispered into the stillness of this place before she had chosen to leave it behind. And now, It stood before her, real, present, and waiting. You remember. The words were not a question. They were a knowing. A truth spoken softly, as if anything louder might shatter the fragile space between them. Rowan swallowed, her throat tight. Her ribs ached with something she could not name. I don't remember everything, she admitted, voice quiet. The figure took a slow step forward. Not threatening, not urgent, just closer. But you remember me. A heartbeat, a pause, and then, yes. The hush of the forest thickened, as if the world itself was listening. Rowan's pulse was steady now, her breath slow. Not out of calm, not out of fear, but because something inside her was aligning, snapping back into place, fitting into the shape of something she had not realized was missing. Why did I leave? She asked. The figure's gaze did not waver, did not soften, did not break. Because you were afraid. The words struck deep, not like a wound, not like an accusation, but like a truth she had been avoiding. A truth she had once spoken into the dark before she had turned away from this place, from them. Afraid of what? The figure tilted their head, studying her. Then, afraid of what it would mean to stay. The forest exhaled. The golden light pulsed. And deep in her chest, Rowan felt something stir. Because even though she did not remember everything, even though there were still pieces missing, that truth felt right. She had not been forced to leave. She had not been taken from this place. She had chosen. And now, she had chosen to return. A slow breath, a steady heart. And when she finally spoke, her voice did not shake. Then tell me what I left behind. The figure's lips curled. Not in a smile, not in sadness, but in something softer, something older, something that had been waiting a very, very long time. Come with me. And Rowan, without hesitation, did. Rowan followed, through the hush of the golden forest, through the mist that curled like whispering breath, through the spaces where the trees grew so tall, so endless, that the sky itself felt like a distant memory. The figure moved ahead of her, gliding with an ease that spoke of belonging. They had never left this place. Not like she had. Not like she had chosen to. And yet, they had waited. For her. For this moment. For the memory to return. Rowan's heart beat steady, her steps soundless against the moss. The air was thick with something ancient. A feeling. A presence. A knowing. Something was waiting for her just beyond the trees. Something she had left behind, buried beneath time, beneath forgetting, beneath whatever had driven her to choose the world outside this one. Where are we going? She asked. The figure did not turn, did not slow, only answered in a voice as soft as the wind through the leaves. Home. The words sent a shiver through her ribs. Not in fear, not in unease, but in recognition, because the moment they said it, she felt it. A pull, a longing, and then, the trees thinned, the mist parted, and Rowan saw it. A place she had once known, a place she had once called hers. The ruins of a home, not broken, not forgotten, but waiting. The stones were smooth, kissed by time. The doorway still stood, draped in ivy, open as if expecting her return. And the moment she stepped closer, the moment her foot crossed the threshold, the weight of memory slammed into her. Not a trickle, not a whisper, but everything, all at once. The life she had lived here, the nights spent beneath the endless sky, wrapped in warmth, wrapped in whispered promises, the firelight flickering against stone walls, the hands she had once laced with hers, the lips she had pressed against her skin, the heartbeat she had once called her own, and the night she had left, the night she had made her choice. Stay with me. A plea, a promise, a voice full of something endless. But she had turned away. She had stepped into the mist. She had chosen to forget. And now, she was here again, standing in the ruins of a love she had abandoned, a love that had never left. Rowan's breath shook. Her hands trembled. She turned to the figure, standing just behind her, watching, waiting. And for the first time, she saw them clearly. Saw the face she had once kissed. Saw the eyes that had once held her name like a prayer. Saw the one she had loved and left behind. Their gaze did not waver, did not break, did not beg her to stay this time, because the choice had always been hers. And now, as the hush of the forest held its breath, as the golden light wrapped around her like the arms of something patient and enduring, she knew. I remember. A single breath, a single truth. And then, what happens now? The figure's lips parted, and in the hush of the waiting world, they finally answered. That is up to you. The hush of the forest deepened. The golden light flickered, as if holding its breath. And Rowan, for the first time since stepping into this place, had a choice to make. The figure stood before her, waiting, not pleading, not demanding, only watching, the way they had watched her once before, the night she had walked away. Rowan's breath was steady now. Her hands no longer trembled, because she remembered everything. She remembered the love they had shared, the life they had built, the endless, whispering nights beneath the stars, wrapped in warmth, in safety, in something that had felt so vast, so unbreakable, that she had once believed it would last forever. But she also remembered why she left. Not out of fear, not out of doubt, but because something inside her had ached for something more. For the world beyond the trees. For the unknown. For the life that waited outside the hush of this place, in the ever-moving pulse of time. And so, she had stepped away. She had walked into the mist. And she had let herself forget. That is up to you, they had told her. A simple truth. A quiet offering. A chance to decide once more. Rowan let out a slow breath. She stepped forward, closing the space between them, and reached out. Their hand was warm when she took it. Familiar. Steady. And when their fingers laced with hers, it felt like coming home. For a moment, she let herself imagine staying. Let herself picture what it would mean to rebuild what they had lost. To walk the familiar paths, to whisper old promises, to let the forest close around her once more, keeping them together, holding them in a hush where time did not press forward, where the world did not pull her away. But that was not who she was anymore. Not who she had been since the moment she chose to leave. Her grip on their hand tightened. And then, gently, she let go. "I can't stay," she whispered. A hush, a stillness, and then a slow, quiet nod. Not anger, not sorrow, just understanding. Because they had always known. They had always understood her, even when she had not understood herself. "Then go," they said softly. "But this time, don't forget me." The words pressed against her ribs, settling deep. And she knew she wouldn't. Rowan stepped back, turning toward the path she had once taken long ago. The mist curled around her ankles, the golden light flickering like a heartbeat. And as she stepped forward, the forest did not try to stop her. It only watched. And behind her, the one she had loved, the one who had waited, let her go. This time, Rowan did not look back. But as she stepped beyond the trees, as the hush of the forest faded into the wind of the waking world, she carried them with her. Not as a weight, not as a regret, but as something soft, something warm, something she would never forget again. And somewhere, in a golden-lit forest that would always wait, a whisper followed her into the world. "Until we meet again." The air beyond the forest was sharp, crisp, different. Rowan felt it the moment she stepped through the final veil of golden mist, the moment her foot touched the ground outside. The hush of the trees did not follow her. The weight of the past did not press against her shoulders. The world beyond was waiting. And yet, she hesitated. Not because she wanted to turn back. Not because she doubted her choice. But because leaving was not the same as forgetting. And as she stood on the edge of the forest, where the light no longer glowed gold and the air no longer whispered, she turned her gaze back. Not far away, beyond the mist, beyond the hush, she knew they were still watching. Not calling her back. Not stopping her. But there, as they had always been, as they would always be. "Until we meet again," they had whispered. And Rowan, she believed them. A slow breath. A steady step forward. She walked into the world beyond the trees. Into the pulse of life that had once pulled her away. Into the place where time moved forward and the unknown stretched before her like an open sky. She did not know where this path would take her. Did not know what waited beyond the mist. But for the first time, she did not feel as if she had left something behind. Because the forest would always be there. And so would they. Waiting. Watching. A love that had been lost once. But would never be forgotten again. Rowan did not look back. She did not need to. She simply walked. Into the future. Into the unknown. And somewhere, deep in the hush of the golden-lit trees, the forest sighed. Not in sorrow. Not in longing. But in quiet, patient understanding. Because some things are never truly gone. Some stories never truly end. They simply wait. Until the next time the forest calls your name. Rowan did not look back. But the forest never truly let go. As she walked, as the golden mist faded and the hush of the trees became nothing more than a memory, something lingered. A feeling. A whisper. A presence just behind her, just beyond sight. Like a shadow stretching at dusk. She felt it in the wind curling around her skin. Felt it in the way the path beneath her feet felt both unfamiliar and known. She had left the forest. But had the forest left her? The thought pressed against her ribs, curling around her bones. And then, the world shifted. Not in a violent way. Not in a way that screamed of something wrong. But subtly, gently, like the earth exhaling beneath her feet. She slowed. The path ahead stretched long and endless, the horizon kissed by the faint glow of a setting sun. And yet, it felt different. Not quite the world she had expected. Not quite the life she had once known. Rowan's pulse quickened. She turned her gaze upward, toward the sky. The stars had not yet bloomed, the last traces of daylight still clinging to the clouds. But there was something wrong. Or rather, something watching. Not a presence she could see. Not a figure standing in the distance. But something woven into the very air. Something that had followed her. Something that had never let go. Her breath shuddered. She was out of the forest. Wasn't she? A step forward. The earth felt firm beneath her feet. The scent of the trees had faded. And yet, something was still waiting. Watching. Calling her name in a voice so soft, so ancient, that it did not need words. The choice had been made. She had left. She had walked into the world beyond. So why? Why did it feel as if the forest had followed? A gust of wind curled around her. It smelled faintly of moss, of earth, of home, and in the quiet hush of the fading day, a whisper drifted through the air. Not behind her, not before her, but inside her. Rowan. The name settled against her ribs like a second heartbeat. And for the first time since she had stepped beyond the mist, she wondered, had she ever truly left at all? Or had the forest never let her go? The whisper curled inside her chest like smoke. Soft, weightless, but impossible to ignore. Rowan. Not a memory, not an echo, but something alive. Something that had not stayed behind. She turned, slow and deliberate, her breath shallow, her pulse a steady drum beneath her skin. The forest was gone. The golden mist had faded. The towering trees were no longer in sight. But the air, it smelled of damp moss, of rain-soaked earth, of something ancient, something waiting. Rowan clenched her fists, forcing herself to take another step forward. This was real. This was the world beyond. She had made her choice. She had left. So why did it feel as though the forest had left with her? "It's just in your head," she whispered. The wind did not answer. But the feeling did not fade. The road stretched long before her, vanishing into the soft haze of twilight. The world ahead was open, unknown, and yet, she hesitated, because the whisper was still there, because the feeling had not lessened. And when she glanced down at her hands, she froze. Her fingers were stained with gold. Not paint, not dust, something else, something that shimmered and pulsed, fading in and out like light filtering through the trees. Rowan's breath hitched. She wiped her hands against her coat. The gold remained. It glowed softly, like the light of the forest, like the warmth of something that should not have followed her here, like a piece of the hush that had refused to let her go. She stepped back. Her heartbeat was steady, too steady. The air was too still. And then, the wind shifted. Not forward, not backward, but around her. A slow, spiraling current that carried something familiar, something impossible. Rowan. The whisper was closer now. Not inside her chest. Not behind her. But everywhere. The forest was gone. And yet, she was not alone. Her fingers trembled. Not in fear. Not in dread. But in recognition. Because the truth was no longer something she could ignore. She had left. She had walked away. She had stepped into the world beyond. But the forest had come with her. And somewhere, just beyond the edge of what she could see, it was waiting. Not as trees. Not as mist, not as the golden hush she had once known, but as something else, something woven into her, something that would never truly let go. Rowan inhaled, slow and deep. The air smelled of moss, of rain, of something that should not belong here, but did, because she had carried it with her, because it had chosen to follow. And as the last traces of sunlight faded into night, as the world stretched endless and open before her, she finally understood. She had never truly left the forest, and the forest had never let her go. The night stretched vast above her. No trees, no golden mist, just the sky, deep and endless, its darkness stretching far beyond anything she had ever known. And yet, she felt hemmed in, contained. The world was open, but something pressed at the edges of her awareness. Not like walls, not like a trap, but like a presence. Something unseen, something waiting. Rowan's breath curled in the cold air. The road stretched long ahead, leading her back to a life she had once walked away from. She should keep going. She had made her choice. She was free, but the whisper had followed her. The gold still glowed faintly on her hands. And somewhere, just beyond her vision, the forest watched, not from behind her, not from the place she had left, but from the spaces in between, the empty places, the unseen corners, the gaps in the world where no one ever looked too closely. A shiver traced down her spine. She turned her gaze toward the sky, searching for something, anything, to anchor her. The stars blinked softly, scattered across the vast dark. But one was missing, or rather, one was wrong. A space where a star should have been. A void, a hollow shape against the heavens, so faint she almost didn't notice. But once she saw it, she couldn't unsee it. It was not an absence, not an empty space. It was a shape, a form, something too dark, too deep, too intentional. A figure carved into the sky itself. Watching, waiting. The hush pressed against her ears, a soundless weight that felt too much like the whisper of leaves, the sigh of wind through branches. Rowan took a step back. The road beneath her felt too solid, as if she were standing on something not quite real. Or worse, as if she were standing somewhere she did not belong. A pulse of warmth flickered in her hands. She looked down. The gold shimmered against her skin, not fading, not disappearing, but spreading, like roots, like vines, like something growing, something waking, something claiming her. Her breath shuddered. The forest had not stayed behind. It had come with her. It had followed. Or, had it ever truly let her leave? The air shifted. The void in the sky deepened. And then, a single word curled through the silence. Soft, gentle, unshakable. Rowan. She squeezed her eyes shut. This was not real. This was not happening. She had left. She had left. She had left. But when she opened her eyes, the road was gone. The world around her had melted into shadows, into silence, into something so deep and endless that for a moment, she forgot where she had been going, forgot what she had been running from, forgot what was real and what had never been. And in the hush of the void, where no stars shone and no road remained, the forest spoke, not with words, not with whispers, but with a presence, with something that wrapped around her, sinking into her skin, curling into the spaces between her ribs, pressing into her bones with a truth she had refused to see. She had never left. She had only stepped deeper in. And now, there was no path out. Only the hush. Only the whisper. Only the forest. And it was calling her name. There was no road. No sky. No sense of where the world ended and where she began. Only darkness. Only silence. Only the feeling of something vast and ancient, pressing into her bones, settling inside her like it had always belonged there. The forest had not let her go. But more than that, it had never been something separate from her. It was inside her, had always been. Rowan's breath was slow, steady, even though the world had unraveled around her. She did not feel lost. She did not feel afraid. And that was the most disturbing part of all. The void was not empty. It was full of whispers without voices, full of motion without form. Something in the dark moved. Not toward her, not around her, through her, like wind curling through trees, like roots shifting beneath soil, like a pulse in the earth, slow and deep, mirroring the rhythm of her own heartbeat. A heartbeat that did not feel entirely like her own anymore. Rowan. The whisper did not come from outside. It bloomed within her. A soundless thing, a knowing rather than a voice. A presence that had never left. She lifted her hands. The gold was no longer just a stain. No longer something that had been left on her skin. It was woven into her. Lines of shimmering light pulsed beneath the surface, tracing her veins, her bones. Not separate, not something that could be wiped away. It had become her. Rowan exhaled. A thought rose in her mind, soft as falling leaves. What are you? The hush stretched. A presence curled against her skin. And then, deep within her chest, the whisper answered. We are you. Her breath caught. The void trembled. And suddenly, she was falling. Not down, not up, not in any direction she could name, just falling deeper and deeper into the hush, into the space between thought and dream, between reality and something else entirely. And as she fell, the whisper grew, familiar, endless, unshakable. You never left. The gold pulsed in her veins. The hush wrapped around her like roots, like vines, like something welcoming her home. And Rowan, she did not fight it, because somehow, deep down, she had always known. The forest had never been a place. It had been waiting for her to remember. And now, as the last threads of the outside world unraveled, as the golden light swallowed her whole, she finally did. She had not escaped the forest. She had become it. Rowan did not land. There was no ground, no sky, no boundary between what she was and what surrounded her. She only drifted, suspended in a hush so deep, so ancient, that time itself felt distant. The golden light curled inside her veins, pulsing like a second heartbeat. Not separate, not something she had taken from the forest, but something that had always been waiting, just beneath her skin, waiting to be remembered. The whispers did not come from around her anymore. They came from within. We are you. Rowan's breath did not quicken. Her pulse did not race, because fear had no place here. She understood that now. She was not falling. She was rooting, sinking deeper, stretching wider, becoming something vast. She reached out, not with her hands, but with something else, something that moved through the hush like wind through branches. She felt the air shift, felt the presence of things unseen, not strangers, not threats, but kin, shapes stirred in the golden mist, not bodies, not voices, just awareness, presence. And Rowan, she was part of it. She had always been part of it. Something within her pulsed, slow and deep, unfurling like vines stretching towards sunlight. Memories whispered beneath her skin, not hers, not entirely. Older, wider. The hush carried them like falling leaves, settling them inside her like seeds in soft earth. 1,000 voices, 1,000 names, 1,000 lives, woven into the roots of something endless. She had not left the forest. She had only awakened, and the forest had been waiting for her to return. A breath, a thought, a quiet, wordless understanding. She did not have to run anymore. She did not have to search. She had found where she belonged. Or rather, she had remembered. The hush deepened. The golden light shimmered. And Rowan let go. Of fear, of doubt, of the world she had once thought was hers. She let herself sink into the whisper, into the hush, into the golden light that was not just around her, but part of her. And for the first time, in a way she had never known before, she was home. Home, not a place, not a memory, but a knowing. A quiet certainty that settled inside Rowan like the roots of an ancient tree. She had let go, had surrendered to the hush, to the golden pulse that wove itself into her bones. And in doing so, she had become something more. The mist thickened around her, not as an obscuring fog, but as a presence, warm, familiar, watching. She could feel them now, the ones who had come before. Not ghosts, not echoes, but something alive, something waiting, something that had always been here. Rowan reached, not with hands, not with thought, but with something deeper, something that did not belong to flesh or mind, but to the hush itself. A pulse answered her, slow, ancient, a rhythm that matched her own. And in that moment, the forest opened, not in the way trees part for a path, not in the way mist lifts to reveal what lies beyond, but in the way a secret unfolds when it is finally remembered. A world that had always been here, beneath, beyond, inside. Rowan saw, not with her eyes, not with sight at all, but with the part of her that had been sleeping for so long. She saw the golden threads that stretched between the trees, between the spaces, between the very fabric of the hush. She saw the figures moving through the mist, formless yet real, present yet untouchable. She saw the roots, not buried, not beneath, but everywhere. Threads of connection, woven through the air, through the silence, through her. And she understood. The forest was not a place. It was a weaving, a tapestry of everything that had ever been and ever would be. And she was now part of it. A single thread in something vast and endless, stretching beyond time, beyond thought. Not trapped, not lost, but woven in. The hush deepened. The golden pulse spread through her limbs, slow and warm, like sunlight filtering through ancient leaves. And then, a whisper, not like before, not from the forest, not from within, but from everywhere. "You are awake now." Rowan exhaled. She was, and there was no turning back. Rowan did not move. There was no need to. She was not standing. She was not drifting. She simply was. The hush wrapped around her like a second skin, vast and endless, stretching beyond sight or sound. The golden threads pulsed softly, stretching outward in every direction. She could feel them, woven into her, extending past her, threading into something far greater than herself. The whisper had spoken. "You are awake now." And she was. She saw beyond. Not with eyes, not with thought, but with knowing. The mist was no longer just mist. The forest was no longer just trees. They were strands of something ancient, something endless, something that pulsed with the weight of all things that had ever existed. The figures in the mist were not ghosts, not memories. They were echoes, not of the past, not of the future, but of something deeper, something that had always been woven into the hush. And she was woven in now too. Rowan reached out, not physically, not in a way that could be seen, but in a way that was felt. A thread tightened. A pulse of warmth answered her, not from the mist, not from the forest, but from everywhere. The hush vibrated, rippling outward like wind through leaves. She had touched something, and it had touched her back. A soundless understanding settled inside her. She was part of the weaving now. She had not been taken. She had not been claimed. She had become. And the forest, the hush, the golden threads, they were not keeping her here. They were simply holding her place. A place that had always belonged to her. A place she had forgotten. Until now. The air shifted. The mist parted. And for the first time, Rowan saw what lay beyond the hush. Not the world she had left. Not the path she had once walked. But something older. Something that had been waiting for her to see it. The weaving stretched before her, endless and golden, shifting and shimmering like light reflecting on water. Threads of every life. Every choice. Every possibility. It was not just the forest. It was everything. The whisper stirred again, curling through the hush like wind through hollow branches. "You are part of the weave now, Rowan." Her breath did not quicken. Her heart did not race. Because this time, she already knew. She was not lost. She was not trapped. She was simply where she was meant to be. And as the hush settled into her bones, as the golden threads pulsed in time with her own heartbeat, Rowan understood. She had not been taken. She had returned. And there was no need to leave. Because she had never truly been gone. Only sleeping. Only waiting. And now, she was awake. Rowan stood at the edge of understanding. Or perhaps she was standing in the center of it. There was no up, no down, no separation between the hush and herself. She was part of the weave now. Not lost, not wandering, but threaded into something infinite. The golden strands pulsed in time with her breath, stretching in every direction, winding through the mist, through the unseen, through the very fabric of what was and what had always been. She could feel them, every thread, every whisper, every choice and echo and moment, all woven together into something vast and endless. And she was one of them now, a single strand in the infinite loom. A thought pulsed through the hush. Not words, not sound, just knowing. Will you walk the weave? Rowan did not speak. She did not need to. The answer was already inside her. Yes. The hush shivered. The golden strands stirred, shifting, unraveling, opening into something new. A path, not made of earth, not made of stone, but of light. A golden thread stretching forward, pulling at something deep within her. Rowan stepped forward. She did not walk. She simply moved. One step, and the world around her shifted. The mist swirled. The hush deepened, and the golden thread beneath her pulsed like a heartbeat. She was no longer in the forest. No longer in the place she had thought she had known. She had stepped into the weave itself. And the weave was endless. It did not obey the rules of time, of space, of anything she had once believed to be real. Threads shimmered all around her, moving, twisting, forming shapes and echoes that flickered like reflections on water. She saw glimpses, not of the past, not of the future, but of possibility. A hand reaching for hers in the mist. A fire flickering in the dark. A door that had never been opened. A life she had never lived. 1,000 paths, 1,000 choices, all woven together, stretching out beyond sight. Rowan exhaled. She could step into any of them, become any of them. The weave was open to her now, and for the first time, she understood what it meant to be awake. The golden thread beneath her feet pulsed, waiting. Not guiding her, not leading her, just offering. The choice was hers. It had always been hers. Rowan took another step. The weave shuddered. The whispers grew louder, and the golden light swallowed her whole. Rowan was no longer standing on solid ground, because there was no ground. Only the golden thread beneath her feet, pulsing like a heartbeat, stretching endlessly through the hush. She was surrounded by the weave, an infinite tapestry of flickering moments, twisting threads, and shifting echoes. Not memories, not visions, something deeper, something alive. The weave did not show her the past, nor the future. It showed her the paths she had never taken, the choices left unwalked. They hovered around her in the hush, shimmering like threads just out of reach. She turned, and the weave responded. The strands stirred, shifting, unwinding, revealing glimpses of what could have been. A flicker. Rowan, standing in the doorway of a cabin she did not recognize, her fingers trailing over the wooden frame. A fire crackling inside. A presence just beyond the threshold. Someone waiting for her. A whisper of warmth, of home, of something she had never known. And then, gone. The thread twisted, pulling her forward. Another flicker. Rowan, standing beneath a different sky. Not in the forest, not in the hush, but in a world of towering glass, of shimmering lights. A city she had never lived in, streets she had never walked, a life that had never been hers. And yet, it could have been. Another step, another flicker, another version of herself, somewhere else, someone else. The weave pulsed. The golden thread beneath her feet hummed with possibilities. She could choose. She could step into any of these paths. Live them. Become them. The weave was offering, but it was not demanding. It never would, because the choice had always been hers. Rowan exhaled. The hush settled around her. She was no longer afraid. She was no longer lost. She had become, and now, she had to decide. The golden threads shimmered, waiting. The weave stretched before her, endless. And Rowan took a breath, and stepped forward. Rowan stepped forward, and the weave shivered, not in resistance, not in warning, but in recognition. It had always been waiting for her to choose. The golden thread beneath her feet pulsed, shifting, bending, stretching into something new. A path that had never existed before. A path that only she could walk. The hush deepened, thick as mist, wrapping around her like breath, like thought, like the slow unfolding of something ancient and unseen. The other threads flickered. The echoes of unwalked paths pulsed in the silence. The cabin with the fire. The city of lights. The 1,000 choices she could step into. Each one waiting. Each one open. But Rowan did not stop. Did not reach for them. She had seen them. Had felt them. Had understood what they were. But they were not hers. Not anymore. She was not here to relive what never was. She was here to create what never had been. The golden thread beneath her unraveled. Not breaking, but shifting, twisting, reweaving itself into something else. Something Rowan had not yet seen. The hush trembled, the mist stirred, and the whispers, the ones that had once only called her name, spoke. You are the first. Rowan stilled. The first? The first what? But she already knew. She could feel it. No one had ever stepped this way before. No one had ever made this choice. The weave did not predict it, did not prepare for it, because this path, this golden thread winding forward, bending away from what had always been, did not exist until she chose to walk it. And now, it was real. It was hers. The hush did not fight her. The weave did not pull her back, because it did not need to. It only wove what was true, and Rowan's truth was that she was no longer following, no longer choosing from what had already been made. She was making. The hush deepened. The golden thread pulsed. And as Rowan stepped forward, leaving behind every path that had been offered to her, the weave followed. It bent. It shifted. It changed. And Rowan, for the first time since she had stepped into the hush, for the first time since she had awakened, had no idea what would happen next. And that was how she knew it was truly hers. Rowan took another step, and the weave trembled, not in protest, not in denial, but in recognition. She was no longer moving along an existing thread. She was no longer slipping between pre-woven choices. She was unthreading the known, and in its place, something new was forming. The golden path beneath her feet flickered, shifting with every step. It did not stretch into the distance, did not show her where it led, because it did not know, because it had never existed before. And yet, the hush did not resist. The mist did not close in, because the weave did not control her. It had only ever held the echoes of choice. And now, Rowan had become something outside of echoes. She had stepped beyond what had been, and into what could be. A ripple passed through the weave. The golden threads that stretched into infinity quivered, shifting, twisting, as if adjusting to her presence. And then, the whispers changed. They had always called her name. Soft, distant, familiar. But now, they spoke in words. What are you becoming? Rowan did not answer. Not because she did not know, but because it was still unfolding, still weaving itself into being. With every breath, with every step, she was no longer following. She was no longer bound. She was something else now. The hush stirred. The mist thickened. And ahead, where once there had been only golden thread, unraveling into the unknown, something appeared. A shape in the mist. A doorway. Not built from wood. Not carved from stone. But made of woven light. It pulsed in the hush, neither inviting nor denying, simply waiting. A threshold into something that had never existed before. Something only Rowan could step into. She exhaled, reached forward, touched the edge of the woven glow, and the world around her broke open. Rowan touched the woven light, and the doorway shuddered. Not like something breaking, not like something resisting, but like something awakening. The golden threads pulsed beneath her fingertips, shifting, twisting, bending around her touch. It was not a door in the way she had known doors to be. It did not separate one place from another. It did not close one world away to reveal the next. It was not an ending, not a beginning. It was something else, something that had not existed until this very moment. A threshold between what had been and what had never been before. Rowan did not step forward, because she did not need to. The doorway moved around her, like mist shifting in a breeze, like threads weaving themselves into a shape that had been waiting to be made. And then, the hush split open. Light poured through, but it was not golden, not soft, not warm. It was new, colorless and endless, untouched and unwritten. A space that had never been filled. Rowan did not blink, did not flinch, because this was what she had stepped into the weave to find. Not a path, not a choice that had been waiting for her, but a choice that only she could make. A space that had never been shaped, because it had been waiting for her to shape it. The whispers around her softened. Not silent, not gone, just waiting. Rowan exhaled, and for the first time, she asked the question the weave could not answer. What do I want to create? The golden threads pulsed. The hush deepened. The space before her remained untouched. And Rowan stepped into it. Rowan stepped forward, and the world did not catch her. There was no ground beneath her feet, no sky above, no mist, no hush, only the space she had entered. The untouched, unwoven space. It did not welcome her, did not resist her, because it had never existed before this moment, because she had created it, not with her hands, not with her words, but with the single, undeniable fact that she had chosen something new. A ripple passed through the nothingness, a slow, delicate shift, something forming, not of the weave's making, not of the hush's design, but of her own. She could feel it, the way the space stirred around her, waiting to become, not demanding, not pulling, just waiting. It was hers to shape, hers to build, hers to name. The whispers had stopped. The golden threads had unraveled. She was not being guided, not being called. For the first time, she was alone, not lost, not wandering, just standing in something that had never been before. The weight of it pressed against her ribs. The vastness of it, the freedom. She closed her eyes, and in the silence, she imagined a forest, but not the one she had left behind. A sky, but not made of stars. A hush, but one that belonged to her. The space around her quivered, and then it changed. Shapes formed from nothing. Branches stretched from emptiness. A river uncoiled beneath her feet, its waters silent, untouched, waiting for their first ripple. The air thickened, taking on the scent of something unfamiliar yet known. And when Rowan opened her eyes, she was standing in her own world. Not the weaves, not the hushes, hers. A place that had not existed until she had chosen to create it. And now, it was real, The hush did not call her name, because she was no longer part of the hush, no longer a thread in the weave. She had stepped beyond, and in doing so, she had become something new. A ripple passed through the space. A voice, not a whisper, not an echo, rose from the air itself. "What will you do now?" Rowan exhaled, and for the first time in forever, she was the only one who could answer. Rowan took a slow breath, feeling the weight of the air in her lungs. It was different here. Not heavy, not light, just new. Everything around her was still forming, stretching from the emptiness, bending to her thoughts, waiting to be named. The trees were not quite trees. Their bark shimmered, their branches curved in unfamiliar ways, as if unsure of what they were meant to be. The river had no current, no source, just still water, waiting to be disturbed, waiting to understand movement. The sky above was not black, nor blue, nor filled with stars. It simply was. It had no past, no rules, no name. And neither did this place. Neither did she, because Rowan was no longer who she had been. She was no longer following a path. She was making one. She took a step forward, feeling the ground take shape beneath her feet. And then, she knelt by the river, dipping her fingers into its surface. The moment her skin touched the water, a ripple spread outward. The first ripple this world had ever seen. The first change to touch this place. And as she watched it move, she understood. This was hers to build, hers to shape, not because she had been given permission, not because it had been waiting for her, but because she had chosen to make it real. She smiled. The hush no longer whispered her name. The weave no longer surrounded her. There were no golden threads here, no hidden paths, no unseen hands pulling her forward. She had stepped beyond all of it. And now, she was free. Rowan stood. The world around her was vast, empty, untouched. But it would not stay that way. Because she was here. Because she had become. She turned her face to the sky, the nameless sky of her own making. And for the first time in her life, she whispered her own name. Not in answer to something calling her. Not in response to something that already existed, but as the first word in a world that belonged to her. And with that single breath, the world began.